Hey, welcome back to Sports Fans Only with your host KJ and Sean Matt, brought to you by Anchor FM. So, just like I said earlier, we have a special guest for you guys. Everybody in Norwalk, everybody in Connecticut. I'm pretty sure everybody who follows baseball in the New England region, especially if you're our age, which is in 40s, late 30s, everybody knows who this guy is. His name is Katz, and we just want to welcome him to the Sports Fans Only show.
Oh, give it up.
Got to give him a round of applause. Hey, what's good, brother, man? How you doing out here?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be joining you guys today. That's for sure. You made my day. Put it that way.
Well, you made our day too, man. We've been talking about this with everybody. Everybody knows I'm a huge baseball fan, so I'm always excited to get somebody on here. Sean knows baseball, but he's more of a basketball guy. I'm a baseball lifer, just like you are. So when I get somebody on here to talk some baseball, especially when you have an icon, or I don't want to blow your head up, but.
No, I understand. I understand.
You get it, but
I get it.
Yeah, when you have somebody that great, like you have your Eatrice Prices, and then Glenn Katz is basically in that same mold as far as when he came out of high school. He was Mr. Baseball basically. So just great to have you on here. So I wanted to just start off talking about your baseball journey. Like when did you start playing baseball, and who got you into it? And so I'll give you the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Well, appreciate it. So, I started out following my older brother, Craig. Probably started swinging a bat in diapers in Cranberry area of Norwalk, wiffle ball. My father was very active with us in kind of all the activities we did. My mother as well, but he kind of took the reins as coaching us in Little League. And I started, in Little League. I played in what was it? Was it Cranberry Little League? Cranberry Little League.
Yeah, it was probably.
It was Cranberry.
Yeah.
So we started at it was Roosevelt, which is in the like the elderly home now, and then we moved over to I forget the name of the next field, and that's where it started. It was Little League. Playing with my brother. I was lucky enough to play with my brother and have my father coach me right up until Babe Ruth. And then it was Norwalk, Babe Ruth, and that was the thing back then. There was no travel. That was if you played Norwalk, Babe Ruth, you were in the place to be. It was Nathan Hale Middle School, and you moved on from there.
Yeah,
that was where I started.
It was an honor because like you said, there was no AAU. Legion was for the older players. So if you played Babe Ruth and you made the All-Star team, the traveling,
it was a big deal, right?
It was a big
huge
deal. To what was it? The districts, then the states, and then
everyone knew everyone, and we met. I still have very good friends from competing in Babe Ruth. Locally, I'm still close, and some of those same players became the better players right through high school and into the next level. But that was the place to be. There was nothing else.
No, it was nothing else at all. So when did you start realizing, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. I think I could do something. Was that in high school, or was that before then? Or
it's interesting. I think back about sports and life and growing up, and my entire life, I consider myself very competitive, but I wasn't necessarily great at a lot of sports. I just knew in my head I wanted to be good at certain things, and I grew up doing two things really well, and those are the two things I'm still really good at, is fishing and baseball. And I knew at a young age, that I was, because of my passion and because of the atmosphere I was provided, that those are going to be the two things that I excelled at.
Yeah.
Because, when you're little in the neighborhood, right, and we do it as adults now, you walk in somewhere, if it's an athletic environment, competitive environment, you size everybody up, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a negative thing. You just kind of look around and say, okay, this guy, he's a presence. This one here, maybe not so much. And at a young age, I had that mentality.
Yeah.
Whether it was in the neighborhoods, I always sized myself up, and I realized I was very good at baseball. So I gravitated towards it because it made me feel good to be successful at something, right? I mean, I did that and fishing. So I knew at a young age, because I played with my brother, who was very talented and 2 years older.
Yeah.
When I started hanging with his friends, he was a very good brother to me. So my age group, I didn't really have too many friends my age when I was younger, because I had a big brother and he was cool, right? So if your big brother takes you under his wing, that's a plus in your life at that age, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is awesome. I'm getting paid attention to with the big boys. And I started to realize that we played sports. baseball specifically, I hit the ball a little harder than these guys, but I was 2 years younger, right?
Yeah.
I was a little faster at 8, and a lot of them were at 10, you know?
Yeah.
And I realized I had those skills, and it really lasted me all the way till I became a professional athlete. You know, you kind of like given certain things, and then you do it a lot, and you realize, okay, these are 10, 12-year-olds, and I'm 8, and I'm hitting the balls hard. I'm running just as fast. And I took that mentality my entire career until my luck ran out as a professional.
Yeah,
you know?
that's great. You hear Glenn keep talking about his brother Craig now. Craig was the first Katz brother that I heard about, and he was a great baseball player as well. Now, I always wondered, he was 2 years older than you. Now, did you start varsity your freshman year in high school or no?
Yeah. You want to hear? I have very interesting stories about my experiences in baseball. I thought about this last night, and I'm happy you asked me that.
Okay.
When I went into high school as a freshman, okay, I didn't know what to expect. It's a little overwhelming. I am a little kid walking around the hallways, and my brother was cool with me, but he was already established at the high school level playing varsity.
Yeah.
And Coach Tucci, you know, was an amazing coach. He's called, you know, you hear over the intercom, all right, baseball meeting today, right? So it was springtime. He calls the meeting. I walk in. Now I'm a freshman, right? I'm 120 pounds. I did like good in Babe Ruth, but I didn't know what to expect. I sit down. I literally, Keith, I look around the room and see Pete Tucci, right?
Uh-huh.
Jason Federici, Paul Bacchicchio, Usman Shatir. I mean, the whole room was filled with, I'm looking at these guys. They're monsters. I was a little peanut, you know? I literally sit down. I look around. I leave. Coach Tucci walks in, right?
Uh-huh.
And he had already seen me play Babe Ruth.
Okay.
So he was expecting me to be at that meeting, but I walked in, I got overwhelmed, I went home.
Wow.
My brother walks in the house and he looks at me and goes, why did you leave the meeting? I said, I don't fit in there, man. It was overwhelming. I don't belong there.
Wow.
The next day, Coach Tucci took it upon himself because he had an office at the, you know, where the athletic directors kind of hung out upstairs at Norwalk High. After school, I get a call. Coach Tucci wants to see you. So I walk in there, petrified, right? I don't know what to expect. He goes, you need to be at tryouts today. You need a tryout for varsity today. So, okay, now it's on, right?
Yeah.
So I did start varsity as a freshman, but it was an interesting process how I got there. And, you know, it was very, like I said, as a youngster too, I watched the atmosphere that I was in so I could excel, right?
Yeah.
So the first day of tryouts, you remember where he played football, the old City Hall?
Yeah, over there by the swamp.
Yeah, so that was where tryouts were, on that cement, huge parking lot, right? So they weren't using baseballs, they were using those yellow jugs balls.
Yeah.
So I was an outfielder, and I'm like, I look around, I'm like, the only chance I got here is maybe right field. I look at what's going on, what's on the field, who I'm against, right? So I'm in right field, and Coach Tucci's hitting fly balls. Now, the first guy up, some junior, I don't remember his name, the ball bounces 20 feet over his head because it's a rubber ball and cement, right?
Yeah.
He's chasing it down the road. The next guy hops up, doesn't adjust, does the same thing. Now I get up, I'm number 3, and I'm going, there's no way I'm letting this ball get over my head, right?
Yeah.
So I back up 30 feet. I get it perfectly, you know, in stride. I come through the ball, and I throw an absolute, because I had a good arm. You know, no one knew who I was. I threw an absolute rocket, right? From wherever we were throwing, I don't know if it was third base or second, on a perfect laser. And my brother said, Coach, on the first ball, looks at him and goes, we have a right fielder. And that was it. Wow. I took off from there. That one adjustment throw changed everything because I paid attention.
Hold on for one second. Hold on. Let me see.
Sure.
Sean had got off for a second, and I didn't want to stop because we were getting too much good stuff. So let me just see if you there, Sean?
I'm not talking.
What's up, baby?
Too much, am I?
No, you're talking. No. This is your floor. Like I said, everybody wants to hear your story. Sean, is your internet okay?
Yeah, sorry about that. The wife tried to reconnect the internet last night, and she didn't do a good job of it. Let's say that.
So phone. So yeah, because of this whole Corona thing and everybody's quarantine, we're doing everything remotely. So
I could imagine.
Yeah, just like ESPN and everybody else, we're having internet difficulties. But so we're back. So so let's just pick up where we left off. So Sean, he was just telling us how he started his freshman year in high school, and he was just telling me the whole story, or telling the audience the whole story of how when he first got to high school and he walked into the meeting, they wanted him to, try out for the varsity team. And when he first walked in, he kind of got overwhelmed and didn't feel like he belonged. So he just walked out. And so he walked out. And then, what was it, the next day? Tucci?
No, my brother got home that day and said, "Why the hell did you leave the meeting, dude? Coach wanted you there." And then the next day at school, Coach called me over to intercom to come up to his office and said, "You need to be at tryouts." And then that gave me the confidence to, go.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
it took off
they
from
say
there.
Pressure busts pipes, right? But sometimes it makes diamonds, right?
That's it. I think that the way it went down is, when Coach said he wanted me there, it gave me that confidence that now I need to go do what I need. I fit in here and I got to do what I need to do. And I had limited windows, but I capitalized quickly at tryouts on
that's
watching everyone making mistakes and making sure I went last so I could not do what they did wrong and do it right. And I stood out like a sore thumb, I think, because of that, which is good.
The way you played, you always had so much confidence on the baseball field. I just never would have thought that situation happened with you where you, I guess in that particular moment you were lacking confidence because you just didn't feel like you belonged. But watching you play, like you said, you're that rah-rah. You'll get in anybody's face, and you're the captain basically. So to hear that story is definitely very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, and that's how it started. And then in that season I didn't play right away because I didn't really deserve to. I had to earn my spot. And I remember I kind of would play defense but not hit because it was hard to hit actually as a freshman. But I had an opportunity against Greenwich to come up in a big spot, and one of the varsity players that was, I forget which one, put their arm around me and they said, "Glenn, listen, you got to stop being nervous." He goes, "I want you to get up there and swing as hard as you can." And I got up against a guy that actually ended up going D1. I think his last name was from Greenwich. Very good pitcher. Delilah or something, and I hit a ball over the center fielder's head as a freshman to knock in 2 runs, and then that hit, I never came out of lineup for the rest of my life. And I stayed in. That was it. It's like I took advantage of that. I took a little bit of encouragement from good teammates that were older, and I learned from that, and it kind of molded me because when I got a little older, then I started understanding my importance, in helping players develop and stuff. It was interesting.
So when did you first make All-FCA? When was it? What year?
Sophomore year. That was when basically we came together as a very special team. It was probably the most talented team that anybody probably on that team will ever play for. If you ask any player from that sophomore year team, that was the best team that I've ever played for, and many of them will say the same thing. That year, I batted 5th, but I had Pete Tucci before me, my brother before me. We had just a stacked lineup where I had a lot of protection. So that year, my sophomore year, I really just capitalized on the situation and blossomed to the next level of competitiveness, where I was, batted, I think, 460 that year or something.
That's crazy.
Because I had, I just went off. We just went, that team was the first team ever in the FCX to go undefeated. We were ranked in the country. It was a whole that I think 9
I
players.
didn't know that.
Yeah. We started getting ranked in the country with teams from Florida. We had our starting 9. I think all of them but one went Division I, and 4 or 5 were drafted. Off of that team. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, people think I'm over exaggerating when I said from 90 to 96. The most talent ever came out of Norwalk. There were so many division, and a lot of the guys didn't make it for whatever reason, grades or whatever. But there was so much talent between baseball. We had an undefeated baseball team, which was you guys. A couple years later, they had the undefeated Norwalk High basketball team. And then between that, you had the Brian McMahon football team that went undefeated.
Unbelievable. Yeah, tremendous athletes. And we're all still close.
Yeah.
But those years, I can name, well, you probably can too, when you were a little younger, but I can name, you knew who the elite guys were. They would be elite now, and they'll be elite 20 years from now. And they could probably, at 43, still compete. Yeah, because that's how good they were. It was amazing.
It was greatness, and I think people like Mo Vaughn and Kevin Morton, they kind of kick-started that. They paved the way, and so from 85 really is when it kind of started, 85, 86.
Yes.
All the way up through 96, it was just a plethora.
Tremendous athletes. In hardworking, good people athletes. They did everything right. They put, it was a great atmosphere.
No,
it really was. I was lucky to being involved in it.
No, exactly.
Being brought up that way.
Who else? Travis Sims, kind of our age, had the heavyweight belt. Rita Williams went to the WNBA. I mean, I can go on the athletes in between that time frame.
Right?
That
football, basketball, everything. Every one of them was legit. And good people, man. You'd see them and they didn't know. They'd still say hello to you, wish you well. And
exactly.
They're still the same. They still. I'm in the community. I see someone that recognizes me from back then that never spoke to me then. They'll come up and say, "I remember you, and how you doing? How's your family?" It was a good environment.
Yeah, it's a good environment. It's a beautiful thing. So fast forward to your senior year in high school. So I'm sure you're getting a lot of looks from Division I schools and stuff like that. What was your stat line your senior year in high school?
I think I was. My senior year, it's interesting. I was a pitcher and an outfielder, right? So I think I was 9-1 as a pitcher, okay? And then I maybe batted, 400 with, whatever the numbers are. I don't know, 6 home runs. I did well. I was well. I was playing at a very high level my senior year on both sides. Pitching was my passion because I could control the game. I loved it, but I knew I threw very hard, but I wasn't really a pitcher. So I knew at the next level I was going to probably transition into an outfielder, which I did. But I was so competitive that I pitched, my senior year, and it was successful because I just, I had experience and I believed in myself and good team around me.
So for whatever reason, you didn't get a lot of Division I. You would think with those stats, the mailbox would have been overstuffed. But just tell the story of how you ended up meeting the New Hampshire coach and how you ended up there.
Yeah, things have changed with regards to, I guess, information in the process to playing at the next level. High school back then, you really you weren't families. My family specifically, we really weren't educated on the process of getting to the next level. What did it mean to play at college? I learned from my brother a little bit because he went to Boston College on a scholarship his senior year. So, I saw a little bit of interest from his coach, because he knew my brother.
Yeah.
Beyond that, a few schools. I remember Dartmouth called. It wasn't UConn a little bit, but, we just were unsure of the landscape and how it was going to work out or where I fit in talent-wise at the next level.
Is that because of Connecticut? Because we were living in Connecticut, you think that played a part in it, or you just didn't go to enough camps? Or
I think I just didn't understand the process enough to go to enough camps maybe or pursue it to that next extent. Or honestly, it was kind of like my freshman year going into high school. Even as good as it was as a senior, I didn't understand my skill level, where it was going to take me at the next level. So I don't think I pursued it as much as I maybe should have or believed in myself. I didn't think I could play at a Seton Hall or a UConn. I just didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was up against. I saw my brother in college playing. I'm like, am I ready for this? It's like, man. So I was a little overwhelmed. But what happened was similar to the high school situation where I left the meeting and went back in, and I ended up, blossoming from there in high school. I went to in Southington, they had that senior camp where the scouts came down. I mean, most college coaches came down, and all the seniors would play and have a week-long camp. And at the time, Coach Serena was the head coach of the baseball team at UNH, and he ended up being the coach of my team at that camp.
Okay.
And I did really well, at the camp. And he said, "You're mine. Like you're coming to play at UNH." And he was so nurturing and encouraging and positive that I just immediately said, "I want to play for him." I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was the first guy at that level that said, "Listen, you're going to start your freshman year. I love what I see. You get a scholarship, you come play for us." And he actually, I went to UNH and he actually came through on everything he said, treated me tremendously. But the atmosphere there and that program kind of just, deteriorated over the 2 years because of, he left. He was a hockey coach too, and he left me my freshman year to go play hockey. So a new coach came in. And then Title IX, which is the gender equity rule they put into effect for colleges, kicked in. And then I knew playing my senior year, the program was going to be dropped, and the coach I was playing for, we didn't see eye to eye. He wasn't the type of coach that was, there's different types of personalities on a field.
Yeah.
Coach Tucci, I knew when he got in my face, it was to make me better. And I loved it. I used to feed off of that. Right.
Yep.
Serena was a similar coach. Listen, I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong because I know you can do better. The coach my sophomore year at UNH came in and, there was games where I'd hit 2 home runs, and the next day he tapped me on the shoulder and just all he would say is, "You're not that good." And I'm thinking in my head,
wow,
that's a strange message for someone that you want to. Yeah. That's a strange message for somebody that you maybe want to continue to hit home runs and do well for your team. That's something that didn't sit well with me.
You know what that you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the way they say Bill Belichick is, where no matter who you are, whether you're Tom Brady or whatever, he's never going to praise you. He's never going to, if anything, he's going to find the negatives.
Yeah, and I personally, as a player and as a coach, it's too hard of a sport to not encourage people, So I never could be that type of person. I wasn't then, and when I coach, I'm not now.
Yeah.
But that rubbed me the wrong way, and I knew I was leaving there anyway. So I ended up transferring to UConn, and that's when everything changed for me as far as becoming a prospect, because the program was on such a higher level that I had no choice in a short period of time to either get with the program or you're not going to see the field. And lucky enough that because of my competitiveness, I excelled at a very high level, in a short period of time. It was like it's now or never.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm looking at your stats here, 1998 University of Connecticut baseball final statistics. So these are your numbers at the end of the 1998 season. Let's see here, Glenn Katz. You batted .370. You played 42 games, 42 out of 42 games. You had
192 at bats.
52 runs, 71 hits, 16 doubles, 4 triples, 12 home runs.
12 home runs, yeah. Look at that slugging percentage.
I was just going to say that. What were you, second on the team?
I think, yeah.
You were second on the
team that year, and the guy ahead of me was one tremendous baseball player, so I was happy that I hung with him. He was amazing.
Sean, I don't know if you know this. He's actually in the record books at UConn for, I think you're number 7, if I'm not mistaken. It's either 6 or 7.
Yeah,
7.
I think 7.
7 all time for that slugging percentage that you see right there. And it's even higher than any season that George Springer had, for the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
He's on the list too, but he's down there like 640 or something, like 630. I just know it's a lot lower than his. So, that's something to hang your hat on. Me, like I'm in the record books above George Springer.
I know. I didn't notice that. People pointed it out. For me, I don't really, you don't pay attention to those things. But I noticed a couple parents of children that I worked with a few years ago must have saw that somewhere and said, "You're ahead to George Springer." I said, "I did not till now, but that's pretty cool."
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know. No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did a Google search. I went crazy going through all, finding any articles I could have.
Yeah.
But because, we played back in the 90s, all you're going to find really is newspaper articles and, there's no video or nothing like that. So, I found that and I was like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So, Sean, I was asking him, I was like, so your numbers, George Springer's numbers weren't this particular season I'm talking about where you batted .370. His best season wasn't that much better. Maybe the power numbers, right? But, outside of that, it wasn't that much.
Yeah. No, collegiately, our numbers were very similar. Prospect potential-wise, it's on a whole different level than anyone I've ever seen on the baseball field, put it that way. And I've seen him collegiately, and he's the type of guy when he got up to the plate, the entire stadium stopped speaking. Silence. Because you were going to watch something great happen. That's how good. You just knew you were looking at greatness. The numbers don't always, like a stat line doesn't always show you what you're seeing visually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like visually, he was just outstanding, and that's why he's World Series MVP. But it's just a whole different. It was amazing to watch.
So
maybe I had moments like that too because I never watched myself.
Yeah.
True. I was impressed. It's a whole different level of. That's why he is what he is.
So for any kids listening right now, there's a lot of high school kids that are playing in the Fairfield County area or even all over the country because we have people listening in different countries actually, all over the country. So anybody who's looking to play baseball and they think they're pretty good, they might be hitting 350, 370 in high school and they think they're the one. Well, what do you got to say for people – because you just said stats don't tell the whole story, and it's not necessarily going to get you to where you want to go. What do you tell? What do you tell those kids who think they might make the major leagues? They have this fantasy, and it's all about numbers. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, I've lived through it, which is kind of a wonderful thing. to be able to look back at my experience and know what's the truth versus what you may think as a, upcoming talented player.
Yeah.
The reality is eventually everyone's going to be awesome.
Yep.
Everyone's going to be amazing. There's no way around it, right?
Yep.
So as an athlete, when everyone is as good as you could possibly imagine as a player, how do you make yourself special in other ways, right? So I made myself an expert at that. How do I make myself stand out when I know the guy? I got 20 outfielders out here with Ray shirts on. How do I make myself want to be a player that the coach wants in the lineup? What do we got to do? And the players that are that talented, they want to focus on those intangibles. There's like the 5 tools, and then there's the 6th one they don't put in. That's not a physical one. It's intangibles, the things you can't teach. You got to make yourself coachable, and you want coaches to be around you. Attitude, right?
Yeah.
Hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, people say hustle. I would run through a wall for my team and not even blink an eye, and that was it. There was no coaches do that, so they want to be on their team. They wanted me to be around them, and it got me. Honestly, it got me drafted because I wasn't very talented in baseball compared to what was out there as far as the other 5 tools.
Yeah,
I was average, man. I'm 5'9", 185. I mean, I'm middle of the pack skills wise, but I was on a baseball field. It didn't play like that because my energy was on such a high level. I stood out, and I played the game the right way.
It makes me wonder how great Jose Altuve must have been to be that size.
Yeah, and he's my size. He's like
to
5'6", 150, 160.
And to make
think about that. He's an anomaly. He'll be the one and only probably ever. I say in the last 100 years to be his size and put up numbers he does. You won't see another one like him in years, maybe ever.
That's crazy.
Think about it, ever.
Yeah.
Well, his body's built a certain way. That's not normal to be that size and hit the ball as far as he does. So there's things. It's not even fitness training. There's the higher power, God-given ability to do things at an explosive level at a high speed that is very difficult to teach. It's just something that he can do, and we won't see another one. I mean, not in our lifetime. Not that size.
No, not that size. And tell our audience, how hard is it to hit a 95-mile-per-hour fastball? How compared to any other sport that you've ever done, even fishing or I don't know what other sports you played.
Well, I did. I was quarterback for Norwalk High.
Oh, that's right.
Track.
I forgot about that. You played football. That's right.
Yeah. So there's nothing. Listen. When you are the best hitter in the world, right? The world, and you strike out 7 times. If you struck out, you say you get out. All right, they always say 7 out of 10 times you're a Hall of Famer. It is so difficult that you can't comprehend it, and you can't, from the stands, grasp it unless you're at the plate and you see the split seconds, the reaction time you actually have to actually make contact, nonetheless actually get a hit.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It was very difficult. I tell all the children I work with, older, high school players, college players, adults, when they go, "How you doing? You stressed out?" I go, "Nothing was worse than striking out when you're getting paid to play." It was your job, right?
Yeah.
You failed all the time.
Yeah.
You're failing all the time. You get your hit, you feel great, but that's and then the next at bat, it's just as hard. It doesn't ease up. So hitting a 95-mile-an-hour fastball now. It's very difficult, but then how about mixing that with a guy that's got a nasty off-speed pitch? I talk about almost impossible.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's almost impossible. It's like to do it on a high level is to me it's one of the most impressive things you can do in any sport. I think it is. I really think it is.
Is it more luck than skill? When to like if somebody's throwing 95 and then they throw a 80-mile-per-hour changeup at you. Is it more luck to hit that changeup after you saw that fastball? Like, are you guessing?
Well, at the highest levels you can guess. I always look fastball because you can always the only way you can only adjust down, right?
Yeah.
So it's not luck, but it's tremendous preparation.
Okay.
It's tremendous prep. You have to be locked in training at a high level consistently to have your body be able to comprehend those changes of speed at that velocity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's skill.
Glenn,
it's skill.
Speaking of the 95 miles per hour fastball to Sean Mack, it got me thinking about something, about how dangerous that pitch actually is. Now, I have a question for you. Should policing yourself in Major League Baseball be taken out of the game? Do you think it's becoming too dangerous as far as I hit a home run, I do a trot that's not fast enough for the pitcher, so next time I'm up, he's going to maybe hum a 95 miles per hour fastball at my head? Do you think that part of the game should be taken out, or should it just stay in?
Listen, man, I would never wish in my life that I knew a pitcher was going to hit me with a fastball. It's like, there's nothing. I mean, it's very dangerous, right? So yeah. I think they've toned it down a little bit. I personally, when I did things as a teammate, I would, if I hit a ball or a home run, I would never put anyone in harm's way because it's extremely dangerous. I don't know if they will. I mean, they try to police it, but the mentality of some of these players, they don't care. No, I mean, they'll kill you. And it's extremely dangerous and your career dangerous. I have injuries on my body from getting hit by accident that have never healed.
Really?
And my thumb is crushed. Oh. We played the Mets when I was at UNH, actually. It was amazing. We were down in Port St. Lucie, and the UNH college team played against the Mets AA team, which is a wonderful experience, right?
Wow, yeah.
But it's a very high level, and we're using wooden bats that equal the plane. And like the first pitch, the guy throws me 96 mile an hour, so I'm holding the bat, so it hits my hand and the bat, it just smashed my thumb, And it just like, I tell you, I played through it like it was probably broken, but I've never wished that on anybody. It's dangerous, extremely dangerous.
Yeah, No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just saying, like, if you pick up a baseball and a rock, really aren't much different, right? You fire that at someone as hard as you can. It does damage,
Yeah.
It's a problem.
I've always thought that it's going to take an extreme injury for it to change. That's just my opinion.
It will. It's 2020, and they finally put nets to protect the fans because people are getting smoked by. Those are hit balls that are about the same miles an hour as a fastball.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah. Sometimes even faster. They come off the bat even faster.
So it'll be extreme. I agree with you. It'll take a major injury to say, you know what, there's going to be more repercussions than there are now. It happens in everything, That's the extreme to make a change. But it'll come.
Was that a thing?
Well, if it does, it'll be an extreme situation for sure.
Was that a thing in college too, where people hitting? I mean, I've always accepted that as part of the. Even in Babe Ruth, people would do. I mean, going back. People would always, even though it wouldn't hurt as much back then because people weren't throwing that hard. I mean, certain people were, but man, so I always kind of accepted it, but I've never gone to bat against somebody throwing 95. You know what I mean? So I don't know what that's different. Like. Yeah.
Yeah. I pitched, and there was times when a coach would look at me and go, "You're going to hit this dude because he just did something that was unacceptable," and I would go, "Watch this, coach. You're going to love this one." Because I just that was the game. But like you said, I'm throwing 82, and I'm trying to hit him in the leg or throw behind him.
Yeah, yeah.
Major leaguers, you see him buzz people's heads. I mean, it's like, holy.
I don't know how you get out of the way.
I don't know how you get out of the way at all. No idea.
Another question, Glenn. Being that you played both college and professional, and the college game uses an aluminum bat, and I've always heard this talk about it. Is it two different games? Unlike college basketball, college basketball, NBA, it's pretty much the same game. Now, a lot of people say that it's totally different because of the aluminum bat that they use in college, so it's hard to equivalate to Major League. Is it the same? Can you still tell someone has power, has pop in his swing, being that he's using the aluminum bat? And do you say, well, if he had a wooden bat in his hand, it might have not gone that far, or he might not be batting as high or have as many home runs?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. A wooden bat is by far a much different experience than hitting with a metal bat. No question about it. So you cannot judge anybody's, full potential off of using a metal bat at all. So when you get to that level where you're a prospect, that comes out of your hand when you're actually working out for pro teams.
Wow.
Because they don't it's not equivalent at all to a wooden bat. A wooden bat's interesting. It obviously the sweet spot, it's heavier and the sweet spot's smaller. That's scientifically proven, right? A metal bat's just got a bigger sweet spot, so you get a little more success on certain pitches than you do with a metal bat. But power, you have to truly hit the ball. You can get a ball out with a metal bat and not have tremendous power, right? You have to have tremendous power and hit the ball just right with a wooden bat, and it correlates differently in your numbers. If they took wooden bats and put them in collegiate baseball, the power numbers would clearly go down. And actually, they've changed the metal bat specification since I played. And if you look at the numbers since then, power numbers have significantly gone down in college over the last 10 years, like 15 years compared to what they used to be, because the bats are they're deadened a little bit. The velocity off of them is controlled.
Huh.
There used to be a fastball used to be able to come off a metal bat a lot faster when I played because it wasn't regulated. Now they regulate it, and there's only specific bats you can use at any level. AAU, Little League, they don't, to protect the kids because it was dangerous.
Yeah.
So, a wooden bat is a whole different ballgame. A wooden bat versus a metal is two different games.
Huh.
And it's interesting. Now, if I'm strong enough and I put a metal bat in my hand when I was in my prime and a wooden bat, I would hit the ball pretty much just as far. But the metal bat ball would go quicker earlier, and then it would go the same distance. Where a wooden bat ball, which is interesting, would have a lot of energy behind it, but it would go like in slow motion. But it would carry just as far. And the ball, as an outfielder, came off the bat a lot differently in college versus being like in a stadium playing professionally. So balls would be hit in the air. And my perception was it's never, it's coming right to me. It's a 300-foot, pop up, and it would just go, like just slow motion, 410, 420. Where a metal bat would jump immediately, and you knew you had to get on your horse, and you had to. It was definitely an adjustment as an outfielder because you had to learn. You had to learn more to read the energy off of the bat versus the actual velocity of the ball. It comes off the bat differently.
Cool.
Interesting.
Good, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, definitely. Well, we're about to head to a music break real quick. This is Sports Fans Only with your hosts KJ and Sean Matt, and this is Glenn Katz, our special guest. We'll be back after these messages.